Hi everybody, it's Brian Wagner, the author of Sometimes It Does Take a Brain Surgeon. There's been a lot going on these days with everything that has happened to me, and some might say for me, but I really want to make sure that the conversation that you and I have is really centered on one thing, and that is to be able to help you to grow your business, maybe grow your personal lifestyle, grow what it is you're having an impact on in the world. And I want to be able to do that because it's important to be the person that you are intended to be, but I also know that that's something that you long for as well. So I'm here to help you do that, and here's where we're going to start. First thing we're going to do is we're going to, and I'll tell you right off the bat, we're going to go from a point of blindness to sight to vision. So remember that, blindness to sight to vision. You might say, but Brian, I'm not blind. I get that. However, you need to understand that you are blind in some instances, and you will be served yourself better if you do decide to become blind. That doesn't mean you have to be physically blind like me. You can also be mentally blind or spiritually blind or socially blind, whatever. That will allow you to be able to understand, oh, here's where I need help. The sooner you understand that you need to have help, that's when you begin to go from a point of blindness to sight. Blindness is really when you understand that you're not seeing everything that you should be. So remember that. Blindness is where you remember everything you're not seeing everything you should be. And I say seeing, from a perspective of physically or mentally, socially, all of those things. So remember, blindness. Next is sight. When you have sight, you begin to identify your blind spots. Now, you can't identify your blind spots on your own, or they wouldn't be called blind spots. Now, you do want to make sure that you have a lot of people around you that will help you to identify your blind spots. There's a number of ways that you can do this, and I've talked about this in the past as well, where you are engaging other people. You're engaging your social mirrors that are around you, and you're adjusting the mirrors that are around you in order to be able to help you to identify your blind spots. Now, blind spots can be in a lot of different areas and for a lot of different reasons. You sometimes need to understand how certain things are repeating themselves. I look back on my experiences and I think of all the times that I was mistreating other people and I just didn't know it. And they're people that I loved. I felt as though there was times that I had done some things that I really shouldn't have, but those people that were with me stayed with me, and they were those social mirrors, if you will, that helped me to be able to go from a point of blindness to sight, and then eventually to vision. Now, with sight, the other thing you need to remember is that there are some other things that you can do to help to identify your blind spots. Again, you can't identify them on your own. However, you can certainly aid in the process. One of those ways is to aid in the process is to meditate or to pray or to however you get in contact with your Creator, or just to have a more quiet time where you're able to relax and understand what's going on around you. That is, for me, a very, very special time in order to be able to do that, because it just allows me to be able to understand what it is that's going on around me. We all get busy. We all have a lot of things going on. We all understand that, there's so much more to life. And when we go on vacation or we have a weekend, that's where we want to stay. But we go back to work on a Monday and we work and work and work. And then, we run the kids to practice, or we take the dog to the groomer, or maybe have a little bit of time with our spouses or whomever, and you don't really have much of a chance during that work week to be able to do certain things, to be able to connect. So that meditation piece is definitely one of the ways to connect. Another way would be journaling, and journaling is something that has helped an awful lot for me, just because I'm not one to get up and just start writing in the morning. However, during the course of the day, during meetings and other things, I will journal. I will write what's going on, and I will think about how this is impacting not only me, but other people that I come in contact with. There's a lot to be said for journaling, and you can journal in a number of other ways, whether it's actually writing a book, or potentially writing a blog, or sending in a regular email to someone. So that's another way that you can journal to be able to be more connected. And then the other way that I would think of for staying connected or staying in that site, to have sight, and you want to identify your blind spots, is to be able to solicit feedback. Now you got to understand, when you solicit feedback, you have to understand that feedback is a gift. And what do you say when you receive a gift? You say thank you. So the same goes for feedback. No matter if you like it or not, you have to say thank you. You have to serve, or you have to receive it with gratitude, because that is going to allow you to be able to receive feedback from that person again in the future. If you don't receive it well and you bark at the person and tell them that they're wrong, they're never going to give you feedback again, because they've been burnt by giving you feedback that you didn't necessarily want to hear. So those are 3 ways that you can come through and have sight. Now the next way, or the next step that we mentioned, because I told you we wanted to have blindness and then sight, and then the next step is to have vision. And vision is where you have a better understanding of what it is that you're doing and how you can better serve your purpose, better serve your world, and to be able to really impact other people. So a good friend of mine talks about how there's a core 6-pack that we all have, and it starts with clarity. The first thing is to have clarity and to really understand what it is that you do. And this is actually from Carrie Oberbrunner, the Deeper Path cohort. So you have clarity, competence, confidence. The first 3, clarity, competence, confidence. The next 3 are influence, impact, and income. Influence, impact, and income. So that is his sort of 3 steps for going through all this, but I would really put those into that last section that we talked about in terms of vision, because vision is where you have a much better understanding of your purpose and a much better understanding of how you can serve the world. I think about our purpose, and I think that there's so much that we have to offer, and there's so much that we all have to offer, but we need to understand, where does our purpose lie, and how do we find it? There's a number of different ways that we could talk about in order to have that aha moment where you understand what it is that your purpose is. I wish I could say that my purpose was IT sales, but after being in that position for 16 years, I had to understand that it just wasn't right for me. Now, it may have been at one point, but after having brain surgery and losing my eyesight for 6 months, I had to come to the realization that it just wasn't for me. I didn't want to admit that. I was hell-bent on getting back to normal, for one, and come to find out, this is my new normal. So the 3 steps that we talked about. The first is blindness. We all have to decide that we're blind. And then next is to have sight. And when you are blind, you really understand that you're not seeing everything that you should be. Second is with sight, and that's to identify your blind spots. Third is with vision. And vision is tougher to explain because you need to have a much better idea, because I really can't understand, or I can't explain everybody's vision for them. They have to understand it for themselves. They have to internalize it for themselves, because once they have that, it's something that they own. I really can't help them much, but that is really where it all pays off, because they're having a better understanding of how they're having that impact on the world. It's all about helping people go blind, have sight, and then get to a point where they have vision. Thank you very much, and take care.